What is up, everybody? This is All Things Entertaining here, bringing you the Monday video, and today we have something very special coming out of the OCG. This is a second place Magical Musketeer deck list, and it's quite interesting to see how different varieties of decks get tossed around in the OCG and how they're built and what we can do differently. Um, Obviously, this deck isn't particularly great in the TCG right now, even though Max does help the deck out quite a bit. It just is not enough to secure them as a spot as a competitive meta deck. They are actually pretty good as a rogue deck, though. I will admit that this thing does some pretty cool stuff. Though I don't think the deck is unfair enough for it to do anything right now. Um, Maybe just if they received more support in the future, that's pretty good. We'll see about that. But anyway, let's just jump right into the deck list itself. So we got 3 Starfire, 3 Kid Brave, 1 Doc, and 3 Casper. I feel like this is sort of standard, having your 3 Casper, Starfire, and Kid Brave. Um, there's nothing really too surprising about this, really. Um, Casper just searches out your Magical Musketeer cards, Kid Brave draws you cards, and Starfire summons cards from the deck, and Doc adds cards from your graveyard to your hand. He's probably the least important, but in the terms of like link summoning and in terms of like overlaying for Air down here, it's definitely pretty good. So it's good enough. On to the other cards, we have 1 Archfiend Eccentric. I feel like this is kind of a correct thing to do to play. I think if you're playing Magical in general, you play Archfiend Eccentric because of the fact that not only is it removal for your opponent's spell and trap cards, which can really be a really big hindrance, especially if they're playing Floodgates. It's also just an extra activation for your opponent's card or for your cards, because it does count as a spell activating in the column that it is in. If you have like Starfire or your Casper in one of the Pendulum Zone's columns, so it works out that way. We also have 2 Ash Blossom and 2 Ghost Ogre and Zoro. There's nothing really to say about this. This is just standard. This is just really good hand trappery right here. Yes, I said hand trappery to get over it, but this is just really good overall. I like this ratio a lot, actually. It kind of works out in the terms of whatever it does. Next, we have 2 Potted Desires. Yeah, basically, it's pretty good. I don't think you should play 3 of this in general if you're going to play Potted Desires in Magic Bullets. I actually didn't really consider Potted Desires in my version of Magic Bullets, which, if you guys want to see that, please let me know. But I think overall this is just okay. It does resolve your Casper and your stuff and all that. Granted, you have to banish 10 cards, so if you banish the majority of your Magic Bullets, which doesn't really happen that much, looking at the deck now, it's just a good card to trigger your cards in your Magic Bullets and get more resources. Ties of the Brethren. This has been in Magic Bullets in infinitum since pretty much the day they were released. So this is standard. If you're not playing Magic Bullets and if you're not playing Ties of the Brethren in Magic Bullets, please reconsider, because this card is really good in that deck. So it's like one of the few cards, one of the few decks this card is actually good in. So 2 Pot of Extravagance. Now this actually definitely makes sense, and if I had 2 Pot of Extravagances, I would definitely play it in Magic Bullets, because it does, you have an extra deck here that doesn't really hinder you all that much. Sure, hitting your maxes generally hurts, but I think the rest of these are just like, hey, if I summon these, I summon these, but I really don't need to worry about I really don't need to worry about them if I banish them. So I like it. And the difference is we do not have 3 Upstart Goblin, which kind of makes me sad, but Upstart Goblin is absurd. It's really good in this deck. You just cycle off all your cards. It makes this deck even more consistent than it already is in the OCG. We have to play Tune Table of Contents, which I guess in theory is kind of the same thing, but it's not really. It's just not as good. But I digress. This is really good. This is really good. 3 cross down. Notice he's not playing the other quick play drop, because I don't think it's that particularly great. I think you play it as a one of if you play it at all. But cross dom just is really good. It's basically It's basically an effect failure that sets your opponent's monster's attack and defense to 0, and you can activate it whenever you want. So it's really good. I think it's kind of on par with like impermanence in this deck. That's why you don't play impermanence in this deck, because of the fact that you can play it whenever you want. You don't have to wait for your opponent to go first, or have some random shenanigans go on with that. So 2 Desperado. This makes sense. Targeting destruction is not as good as it used to be, and even when this card was, I think, released, it wasn't that great. But you played 3 of this card because of the fact that it was searchable, and the fact that, or not because it was searchable, but because it was just, you could just do whatever you want with it out of your hand when you have a Magical on the board. This one's actually interesting. 2 Dancing Needle. Now, many people would argue that 1 is better, but I think it makes sense in the terms of like this graveyard heavy meta that the OCG and actually the TCG is seeing right now. In the terms of the combo decks, this is really good at stopping Orcus. It's not particularly good at stopping Thunder Dragons, but it is particularly good at stopping like Crusadia Guard Dragons from banishing their Chaos for their Chaos Dragons and whatnot. It's just generally a decent card. So I'm opening my eyes to this, and I kind of see it's actually not bad. So, and 3 Last Stand. 3 Last Stand is probably really good. It's actually probably one of the better cards in this deck. Having a Infernity Barrier that you can activate whenever you want is pretty good. And next we have 2 Solemn Strike and 2 Solemn Warning. Now, just letting you know, the way the Magic Bullets work is that they resolve after the effect after the counter trap resolves. So, for example, your opponent summons a monster, you activate your Solemn Warning, it kills the monster, and then after Solemn Warning resolves, something like Casper can activate its effect in a separate chain. That's how that works. These effects don't chain to each other; they work in tandem with each other instead. If that makes sense. But yeah, this is just good. If we had 3 Solemn Warning, we would definitely play 3 Solemn Warning for Magic Bullets. But instead, we're playing 3 Solemn Judgment, which is, I guess, it's the same thing, but just riskier. But you know, we could also just like play 2 Solemn Judgment, 3 Strike, alternatively. But yeah. Anyway, moving on, we have 3 Max. This is staple. I think this is fine. I think this card's really ridiculous for Magic Bullets to receive. It's super insane, but like I said, I don't think it's enough to make the deck good enough. But it is what it is. I like Max a lot. It does help the deck a lot. So. And we have this card, IP Mascarene. We don't have this in the TCG. But I think this comes out at Chaos Impact if I'm not mistaken. It comes out in the new set. But during your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect immediately after this effect resolves, Link Summon using this card you control. You can only use the effect of IP once per turn. A Link monster that was summoned using this card as Link material cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So this is just basically an easy way to get into your Boral Sword, which basically will close out your game. It's a win condition for the deck when the deck is lacking in a win condition. So I think this is going to be very good. For the most part, it is very strong. This card is really good. 1 hit potion again because it buffs your light monsters, and all of them are light. So that's cool. Musketeer, I guess because if it's code linked, you can bounce 3 cards, which is not bad. 1 Crystal Needle Fiber, because of course you're running Crystal Needle Fiber in the OCG. 1 Cerberus, 2 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Unicorn. I think we don't need to explain why these cards are good, right? 1 Trizabania. This card's really good because I think the OCG has a lot of back row for what it is. I think it's still kind of a Sky Striker-ish meta right now. They actually just took 2 first places in the most recent events. So 1 Ningirsu, pretty good, draws cards. 1 Boral Sword, like I said, is for the IP Mascarene to close out the game. So, and 1 Livier the Sea Dragon, because you can recycle some of your banished Pot of Desires cards or your Extravagance cards if they were summoned properly. which is not possible. But anyway, if you guys did enjoy this, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. I'll see you guys in the next video. This has been All Things Entertaining, signing off.